choice, a chance.
There's your chance. Take it.
Grateful.
The day will come when you won't be.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Back again with another throwback review for The Walking Dead Season 4. This is going to be for Season 4, Episode 15, entitled Us. Alright, guys. Episode starts out with Abraham, Glenn, Tara, Rosita, and Eugene walking down the railroad tracks. Eugene talks about video games, and Tara hands Eugene a metal object that can be used to make a homemade battery. Glenn comes across the message about Terminus that Maggie had previously left for him. Realizing that Maggie is still alive, he sprints forward down the tracks. Joe's group, minus Daryl, is at Bob and Sasha's old camp. They are awoken by a walker who gets trapped in the wires. After killing the walker, the group notices Daryl is not with them. Lynn notices that Daryl's stuff is still in camp, and he leaves to find him. Rick, Carl, and Michonne are on another part of the railroad tracks, with Carl and Michonne walking on the rails to see who can stay up the longest. Michonne tries to scare Carl off so she can win the bet, but accidentally falls off herself. Carl gets to choose one of the last two candy bars in her supply and picks the Big Cat bar before splitting it with her. Meanwhile, Daryl is hunting when Lynn approaches behind Daryl. They both shoot and kill a rabbit. Lynn then claims the rabbit and argues with Daryl before the Marauders' leader, Joe, interrupts them. Joe explains to Daryl that the group has one rule: if they want something, they claim it. He then cuts the rabbit in half for Daryl and Lynn, since the former was not aware of the rule. Glenn's group eventually comes across a building where a walker is about to fall from the rooftop of Eugene. He is saved when Abraham shoves him out of the way, despite inadvertently knocking Tara to the ground in the process, injuring her foot. Abraham wants to rest, but Glenn wants to push forward. Glenn strikes a deal with Abraham that Eugene will receive Glenn's riot gear in return for accompanying Glenn and Tara to Terminus. Abraham accepts the deal, and the group continues forward. While walking on the tracks, Joe encourages Daryl to stay with them, although he informs him that whoever steals and lies from the group will take a severe beating. The group finds a railroad platform where they decide to stay for the night. Joe observes that ain't nothing sadder than an outdoor cat that one thinks he's an indoor cat. Joe talks about men like us, but Daryl responds that there is no us. Joe slowly faces Daryl and asks if Daryl is leaving right now. After Daryl's silence, Joe responds, "No, then there sure seems like an us," before walking to the platform. Daryl reluctantly follows. When Glenn's group approaches a tunnel with a sign by Maggie to proceed, Abraham decides it is too dangerous and a huge risk for the group, and leaves Glenn and Tara with 2 cans of food and a flashlight. He promises that his group will return if the two are unable to exit the tunnel. Inside the tunnel, Glenn and Tara find several walkers trapped in the debris from a roof cave-in. On the search for a working vehicle, Abraham finds a minivan with a zombified woman inside. After killing her, Abraham discovers that the vehicle still works. On the windshield of the car, someone had written "Let Mama Be" in dust, referring to the zombified woman in the back seat. Abraham uses the wipers to wipe the message away, looking slightly disturbed. Eugene manages to eventually convince Rosita to let him navigate. Glenn and Tara are observing the numerous walkers in the tunnel. They decide to climb over the rocks, blocking the tunnel. Soon after making their way partially through the tunnel, Tara gets her foot trapped in some loose rocks when Glenn is looking back in horror. Eugene navigates Rosita and a napping Abraham to the other side of the tunnel. Rosita complains about Eugene getting lost, which he responds otherwise. Eugene tells Rosita his plan of waiting for Glenn and Tara at the other side of the tunnel before continuing. Eugene then accidentally wakes Abraham, who is enraged at Rosita for taking him to the other side of the tunnel. As Abraham and Rosita argue, Eugene sees Bob, Sasha, and Maggie off screen. After the group spends the night in the railroad platform, which everyone but Daryl claims a car to sleep in, forcing him to sleep on the floor, Daryl awakens to Lynn accusing him of stealing half his rabbit. Joe searches Daryl's bag to discover Lynn's half of the rabbit. Daryl tells the group he was set up. After asking Lynn one more time whether he set Daryl up, Lynn responds that he didn't. Joe sucker punches Lynn, knocking him to the ground. Joe calls for the group to teach Lynn a lesson before revealing that he witnessed Lynn put the rabbit in Daryl's bag. The new group of Abraham, Eugene, Rosita, Maggie, Bob, and Sasha rescue Glenn and Tara from the walkers. Maggie later mentions that she shot up the roof of the tunnel to incapacitate the walkers so they make it to the other side. While resting in the tunnel, Eugene manages to convince Abraham to go to Terminus with the others so they can rest and regroup before heading back on the road to Washington. Upon leaving the camp with the group, Daryl sees Lynn's beaten body with an arrow in his head. Joe informs Daryl that they are tracking a man who is, unbeknown to Daryl, is Rick, who had killed one of their own and is possibly headed to Terminus. Daryl asks about Terminus, and Joe responds that Terminus is a big lie. Daryl spots a single strawberry growing out of the ground and claims it. Joe, Daryl, and the Marauders are seen walking past the wrapper of the big cat that Carl had previously been eaten, which is lying between the tires on the track, indicating that they are getting closer to finding Rick, Carl, and Michonne. The large group of Abraham, Eugene, Rosita, Maggie, Bob, Sasha, Glenn, and Tara are entering a silent Terminus with ease, and observes the tranquility of the area. In a courtyard, a woman is tending to laundry with her back to the group. After hearing them approach, she turns around and introduces herself as Mary. The friendly woman welcomes the weary group of survivors to Terminus, offers them to make them a plate. The scene ends with Mary saying, "Welcome to Terminus." Alright guys, that was the little quick rundown review of episode 15 of season 4 entitled Us. Appreciate you checking it out as always, and like, comment, most importantly subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Y'all be good.
Welcome to Woodbury.
Pushing my pants yet?